Hey guys, it's Tim and James, and this is part 2 of the damage reduction episode where we're using Be a Better Campaign Master, part 1, Building the World. And the book, Be a Better Campaign Master, has these super cool questions at the bottom of each page. There's like 100 of them. And so they're questions to help you flesh out and build your world. So we're going through and we're answering some of them. If you haven't seen part 1 of the video, you could see the link to that down below. I might even annotate it. Do you want to do the thing where now I have to find the spot and annotate it in the video? Oh. It'll be right.
It'll be probably at least in this area somewhere.
I'm going to do the whole video.
That's what I was doing.
But that's where, yeah. But this is going to be part 2 where we're going to jump right into the next question. So, what kind of music is popular among the common people of Dragongrin?
So, this is a really interesting question for Dragongrin.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm just going to go way back. In the last video, you'll note that we filmed these simultaneously.
Yeah.
Not simultaneous, but one after the other.
No, simultaneously.
And I gave Tim a hard time for taking long, but I'm going to take super long on this one. So, because Tim had a really cool idea. Before Dragongrin was really a real entity or a thing that we really decided we wanted to create. We knew we had some ideas. Dragongrin has come a long way. Tim pitched me the idea of the Circle of the Silver Page.
Yes.
One of my favorite ideas. And I'm going to say it, and then you can correct me right after.
Mm-mm.
So, what?
No, I'm not going to correct you.
Okay, well, if I get anything wrong. But basically, the idea is, the main idea, specifically in where the Dismembered Lord is, in the land of Grin, where he rules, heroes are not really welcome. And specifically anybody that looks like they might be helping people. But there is sort of a special case for bards, because people can play music, but people also know that some people that play music have arcane effects. Mm-hmm. Arcane, not divine, right? It's arcane.
Yeah.
Basically, music is more or less outlawed. You can't play music. I mean, you might just be someone strumming on a lute in a tavern, but it looks like you're casting a spell. Or at least you might be. You might be charming the crowd, and that could turn to a revolution, just not having it. So, that doesn't stop everybody. If I remember correctly, there is a thing called the Circle of the Silver Page, and it is I'm hesitant to use the word guild, but it is a group of bards, different sorts of bards that get together, and they've sort of taken on the responsibility of continuing this sort of bardic way of writing songs about things and cataloging history as it really happened, not as the Dismembered Lord said.
Right.
So absolutely, music is not popular among the common people. But that doesn't stop some people from making music.
That's great. So there's 2 things, and neither of them are incorrect. But one thing, I actually had this thought. Less than 2 weeks ago, I was driving, and I realized, I was like, right now our campaign world, it can be used with any gaming system, really. But the way that we write it, the mechanics are for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. With that said, the druid, the archetypes are called circles.
Oh, okay, yeah.
With that, sorry, we were drinking energy drinks. If we're
burpy and gassy,
I was going to say we're belching like strange brew in here. So if we're belching like strange brew in here, that's why. So the thought had crossed my mind to maybe call it the Order of the Silver Page. I also then had the immediate thought of, no, I'm not going to change our lore for one game system.
And that's how I feel.
Okay, good.
Because, yeah, it's the Circle of the Silver Page.
Perfect. That's the way I look at it. It's the Circle of the Silver Page. And immediately it might sound druidic, but
you'll know soon enough.
Yeah, listen. Game of Thrones. There's an ability in there called warging. I imagine a wolf every time. I imagine a warg.
A warg from...
a warg
from Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
A warg
from Lord of the Rings.
Sometimes I just remember that people are going to watch this on purpose.
Yeah, I know.
And I just sort of discipline myself inside.
I never do.
Neither do I. I was trying to get empathy.
That was the first thing. So it's the Circle of the Silver Page. The second thing was there was an aspect of it that I found really interesting that you didn't mention. The Circle of the Silver Page is an organization that has a public-facing kind of component, and then they have more of a secret component. And here's the idea.
They're the mafia.
No. The Circle of the Silver Page are licensed. They're the only people who are allowed to be playing music.
I did forget about that.
In Grin. They're the only people. So if you're a Circle of the Silver Page bard, it's like you have a pass.
You've been licensed. You're allowed. If somebody walks into the tavern and they, basically they're going to go pull your file, they're going to ask the bartender, oh, is that person supposed to be in
Exactly. Here? Now, here's the cool thing. They have been vetted and they work for the Dismembered Lord. But most of them are double agents doing the thing that he said, writing a secret history. They don't believe in the Dismembered Lord's theologies and practices, but they put up this front. So immediately there's this tension there for conflict. There's this really good story.
They're playing the game. They know what they have to do, but they're bards. They can't not do it.
Exactly.
But they realize that they can't do it under the nose of the Dismembered Lord.
Right. So they do write the songs. They write the ones, They
write the plays. In fact, one of my favorite ones is there's one of the major members of it is actually a cook.
Yeah.
It's like a sort of different style of
That's
bard.
funny you would say that, because that's the other thing, is that to me, I think that there should be so many disciplines represented in the Circle of the Silver Page. As far off the mark as even like a bardic mathematician, as crazy as that sounds, it's like if you look at our world and if you go into history, there were people who were being killed. They were losing their life over saying that the world wasn't flat.
Yeah.
And so to me, there's an element of that still in Dragongrin, now layered with the Dismembered Lord, and if you don't adhere to what he believes is true, then anything you're saying is heresy.
Yeah, we've never really talked about this, but it's in that sense more like the only official university. They don't necessarily teach, but it's like this is the only way we can keep truths alive. Like that's it. We can't share this sort of bardic mathematicianism sort of thing. But the idea is, if they get caught with it, they're not killed immediately.
Exactly. So that's the idea. So what kind of music is popular among the common people? The
latest and greatest on the top charts of Dismembered Lord and the Silver Page, man.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, think about the hymns that they would sing about how the Dismembered Lord was...
The hymns and the hers.
The hymns and the hers. About how the Dismembered Lord was all-knowing and all-powerful and he saved us. This is
probably about how bad guys were, or like the good guys were the bad guys.
Exactly.
Making fun of them, making fools out of them.
Exactly that.
Yeah, this episode's called Circle of the Silver Page.
Really? So it's not necessarily a question on here, but that also brings up, to me, the Dismembered Lord believes that he's a god. Whether he is or not, he is the religion. So, when they refer to him as the Dismembered Lord, it's not just meaning he's the Lord of the land. To me, I think that he believes he's a god king.
And if enough people believe that, he's the god king.
Exactly. So, in that light, I think that the songs that he would want the Circle of the Silver Page to be creating for him would be hymns but he's not stupid and he's not that vain. So I also think that with the power of music and the only place people being able to hear it are those bards, you can brainwash a nation.
Yeah.
So, if kids are growing up learning a little song about, like you said, perhaps an event such as like Lightfall, which is the sort of the linchpin event where the bad guys won. I don't think that the Dismembered Lord and his ilk would call it Lightfall.
Oh, yeah.
I think I was batting around the Dawn of Truth.
Yeah.
So to them, they sing these tales of the dawn of truth,
of the great win,
this
great thing, and people grow up.
Yeah, and
that's
kids
all they know.
Singing like, and there the dawn of truth did lie, and they're singing that. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Sphere Mountains in Innis, kids
they don't understand how they're so brainwashed.
Right,
they just don't get
it. So that's a little, what kind of music is popular? There you go. So let's ride out and see the next question here. What was the largest naval battle ever fought?
Okay. So this is absolutely like most of this stuff so far has been stuff we've talked about at least a little bit, or we have an idea of. This is probably the first one I think that is like, nope, this is brand new.
Yep.
So, okay, let's look here. Where would naval battles happen? Because in our main area, it's mostly land. As we've talked about, a lot of the sort of sea and other places are covered in this arcane energy, this arcane tempest that is difficult or impossible to cross.
Right, called the Bleak.
So we have a sort of chain of the Erasios Islands, this sort of chain, or more like a cluster, I'd call it, of islands.
Like an archipelago.
Yeah, but like I imagine it huge. I mean, I don't know what the scientific meaning of archipelago is. So it is an archipelago.
It means fun word to say.
Archipelago.
Archipelago.
But I imagine it would be there. It would be probably nothing to do with the Dismembered Lord. I mean,
Nope.
This is Erasios Islands are where the Dragonborn live.
Yep.
And the Dragonborn still live in tribes. Not necessarily tribal, like live in huts and hunt with spears, but they're very, or at least in my mind, they're very...
I agree. Clan-like.
Clan-like, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's very about honor, and it's, battle is still honorable, but I imagine that some, islands still have very big fleets, and they would certainly vie for any small areas of like water that they could. Say
Sure.
if there's some part that sort of the Bleak doesn't often come through, or maybe there's tides of it, but that's where they would go fishing. That's the place where they can do their deep sea fishing, and it's the only place they can.
That's perfect.
So it's the kind of thing where I would say, because there aren't many other places that we've really fleshed out that would have big navies or big naval battles, I would say that even maybe being smaller, the largest naval battles and the largest fleets would be present in the Erasios Islands.
I totally agree. So let's talk about a couple of things that popped into my head while you were talking.
Sounds good.
All right, so the first thing is, to me, this is pretty high level, so it's like just snapshotty, but, and it could be like, oh, that seems a little basic, but I love the idea. I love the idea of all of the different colors of Dragonborn being in a different house or a different clan, but I was just imagining what it would look like, and a fleet of ice boats. Like ice-ish, but not totally melted.
Oh, they melted.
But just like these like frost-covered like
all
barges.
Dragonborn, but all so different looking. I mean, like they're not more than miles away from each other, and the worlds apart.
And the fleets look akin to the Dragonborn that made them.
And again, that sort of that tribal pride is that's how I see it. It's not like, no, this is the best boat. It's made out of wood. It's got really good sails. It's like, no. It's important for them, I imagine it like similar to Viking boats. A very, I don't want to use the word ornate, but they put thought into it. It's not just like a mass-marketed fleet. I'm like, no, these are our best ships. And like you said, I'm like, this embodies us.
And I feel like, so for instance, and you go through the different, and we won't go through every one, but, like the Red Dragonborn are going to have a entirely different ship. I think even too, like with smoke billowing, perhaps through their personality, they want you to see them coming. Mm-hmm. They're not trying to hide. It's like, and maybe they even have phrases where it's like, when you see the smoke on the horizon, say your prayers. It basically saying, when you see us coming, so that when the Red Dragonborn fleet comes, this cloud of black smoke is above them.
It almost looks like a bunch of steamships are coming.
Right.
But they don't have
steamships. So things like that, where I just thought that would be really cool. That also made me think of something that I wanted to tell you about. I had this idea. We're still making a campaign setting for a game, and while we want the stories to feel real and alive, which is important, there has to be some percentage of it that's still, it's a game.
Yeah.
And maybe that's, some people don't agree with that, but to me, I want people to be able to latch on in a way. Maybe this is something that isn't just if it's a game, but just if you're making a world in general. And I thought of a way. I love names, but I don't want to name all of our oceans.
Yeah.
I thought, and this is not for everybody, but I wanted to run something by you. So I was thinking about this, and I was like, all right, what if the whole thing is called, let me say it this way. What if the biggest naval battle was between the Dragonborn in the Eurasios Islands, and it's called the Fractured War, okay? Or the War of the Fractured Ocean. But what if our whole ocean, we just call it the Fractured Ocean, and people refer to it as the Northern Shards, the Southern Shards, the Eastern Shards, and the Western Shards?
Yeah.
Because then no matter where you are in the world, it's not like, oh, it's the Nos Zero Ocean. Like, I'm all good. I know that learning names is part of a campaign and that stuff comes naturally, but it's kind of a hack.
But here's the more important part, specifically for us. People can't freely explore the ocean. They don't really know what's out there, because if you enter the bleak, it's unlikely you're coming back. And if you do, your biggest concern is not writing down what you found on a map.
Right.
So while we are especially leaving that part very wide open, it's the kind of thing where they just refer to it like that because we don't know really what's out there. We have no idea how big it is. Some people don't know how far it is to the next island. It's the Fractured Ocean. It's not like, no, we're just going to cross this ocean.
That's it. And so the ocean in Dragongrin is the Fractured Ocean. But if you want to know, like, oh, okay, well, where are you headed? It's like, well, we're going to take the Northern Shards over to, Leith or Varnholm. It's like, we'll traverse the Southern Shards. That way people know immediately, like, okay, I'm taking the North Ocean, et cetera, et cetera.
North. It's almost just more like saying, I'm going to be north. Yeah.
Right. And I think that vibe sort of is the theme for Dragongrin. It's not well put together and neatly wrapped up in a bow.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot more utilitarian and colloquial. So that, and can I just talk about one thing?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, like, is that
Fair
a
enough.
rhetorical question? Yes, please do.
Barker of Be a Better Game Master. This book kills it. If you don't have this book, it's like $6, $7, $10, $5. I don't know what it is. I should.
It's bucks.
It's bucks. But here's the thing. It's worth every bucks. Go to AbsoluteTabletop.com, because right there, page 14, what was the largest naval battle ever fought? Look at all the ideas we just got from that. One question, and above the question, it's actually how to map an archipelago of sorts.
This question is just icing on the cake of what's actually on the page.
So I'm loving this. I think we need to just keep crushing some damage reductions until we work through every one of these questions.
I want to do more. Let's...
Right. So yeah, I want to just say that. Which is more popular, wine or ale?
Okay, so... Yep, that's it. I lose this question. Does that mean you want to go? Do you have an idea?
No, I've been talking a lot.
Me too. No,
I just wanted to fake punch you.
Okay, so fair enough. I hit you in the offhand attack. See what I did there? I offhand attacked him in the offhand attack. See?
Now
works. You get it, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so wine or ale. In my mind, I don't know the most about brewing either of these beverages, but as far as I know, it's a little bit easier to make ale. As far as what you have to do, whatever drink you make is based entirely on the what you put into it. But I feel like it's a little easier to roast barley or however you make. I know very surface of how beer is made. But the idea is, I know that wine can be very complicated and that there are some people that claim that they can taste the difference between the grapes in this area and that area.
Right.
In some regions that are not on the main continent, the main area.
Sure. I would probably call it Central Dragongrin.
So Central Dragongrin, where S is F'd, is going to be ale. And it's going to be ale that's easily made and probably watered down. It's not going to be this fancy, the dwarves made some. Sure. Now, in Central Dragongrin, there is a southern portion. I say southern, sorry. An underground portion called Sphere Below.
Yes.
That is a little bit less affected by some of the political things on the surface. But they would have a hard time growing wine because they don't have the sun. They're underground.
Right.
So maybe, but still, I'm thinking no, ale.
Dude, that just makes me think moss wine. Immediately.
Oh, man. That's
just a cool thing
sounding.
Called...
cool.
Dude, it's gross sounding until you try it.
Until you're like, oh,
and I'm like,
and that's what they have. Like, moss wine flows like water.
Yeah, man. The gnomes of Sphere Below make the best moss wine. And it's like... It's really good.
But the moss wine is just right.
Dude, it's got to be like an IPA. Where it's like... Some people hate it because it's so bitter. It's like...
But it's all most people have. They're like, nope, this is what I love.
And maybe it's not specifically bitter, but that same kind of... distinctive flavor. It's like,
where you're like, you know what it is.
I love me some moss wine. Moss wine tastes like a Four Loko. Pabst Blue Ribbon, moss wine.
Because if people like moss wine enough in Sphere Below, other places are going to try and make it. And that creates that whole sort of culture you have. But, so I would say ale is by far more popular because I think it's simpler to make, or at least it doesn't have to be as good.
Sure.
Like wine, like I said, is a little more fickle, so you would need large crops of grapes. But these people are a little more concerned with living, and they're like, well, we don't have the room to spare for a bunch of grapes. Now, granted, they are making, they're growing other things, but you can use things you make beer with for other things.
No, it makes sense. And that actually brings up this point, which is alcohol in general is a commodity.
Yeah.
Like, a show that addresses this fairly well in a way is AMC's The Walking Dead. You see them drink every once in a while, but it's like it's the end of the world. You have the alcohol that you can find.
Yeah, and nobody's making any more that you know of.
Right, and if they are, it's just this very basic moonshine kind of hooch. And so I would imagine that there's definitely some hooch.
There is some old world
people are like
spirits, like absolutely. But if you find it's like, oh, this was an old bottle of alcohol that was aged and was worth a lot before. Now it's like, this will never be made again.
Right. And to me, I think that's an important distinction, because if you're going around from inns and taverns and different things like that, I think that you would find that ale and wine is very expensive.
Yeah.
So
unless it's, heavily watered down
like the house brew, where they dump all the half-empty glasses into and more watered down. Well, I think that's all the time we have. The camera records for about 24 minutes.
Yeah, we have 2 minutes.
2 minutes to kind of wrap things up.
And one more question.
You think?
We'll just see.
Man.
We'll see what it is.
All right.
We'll look at each other and we'll know.
Okay.
What do you think?
All right, guys. Goodbye. No, I'm just kidding. We won't leave you hanging. What is the most common household pet in the realm?
Listen. So a lot of these questions are answered by the same answer. In Central Dragongrin, where S is F, I gotta not say that, where things are bad.
Soft. That's where I got the name of Sphere. No, I'm just kidding.
Where things are pretty bad, it's unlikely that there is a common household pet. Because common household pets are now common household meals.
I was just going to say, common household pets are kids. Like, you're trying to keep your kids alive. There's no...
Now, that isn't to say that everybody is in a terrible... people keep pets. But I just wanted to make it clear first that I don't think there are many. But if people kept a pet, what would you think? I mean, because, okay, imagine we're going to go quick, whatever.
Sure.
Well, dogs, as far as I know,
yeah, I was going to say, as
over a long time from wolves, that could be any animal in our world.
Yeah, as basic as it sounds and as tropey, being real to the world, I would say it would probably be some form of dog.
Carrion crawler. Wait.
Carrion crawler. Carrion crawler. The Incredible Hulk. Everyone has Hulk Hogan's. No, probably some sort of dog or wolf. Okay. I would think.
Yeah. Super not something we talked about, but if people have pets, I imagine they would be canine in nature.
So, skating by with like 30 seconds.
Yeah, we're 20.
Like this video, subscribe. We would love to hear your comments. What common household pet, after you've heard about Dragongrin, do you think people would have? Comment below. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you think about the rest of this. And until next time, James, what do we tell the nice people?
May your dice roll high with 10 seconds left.
Woo! You want to just talk for 10 seconds?
7 seconds now. But yeah, sure.
6,
5, 4.
3. Actually,
oh no!
You know what I was thinking? Tabletop Terrors.com. Subscribe to our channel.